Some stories should never be told, but you're about to hear them anyway. Enter Fatal Frames. Every night in America, 40,000 long-haul trucks move through the darkness. They carry goods across state lines, through sleeping towns, past exits that lead nowhere. Most drivers are hardworking people, essential workers keeping the economy alive. But among them are predators. In 2004, analysts at the FBI's Violent Criminal Apprehension Program noticed something disturbing. Bodies were appearing along America's highways, women mostly, found in ditches, behind truck stops, dumped in remote areas just off the interstate. At first, they seemed like isolated cases. A murder in Ohio, another in Texas, a body in Tennessee. Different states, different jurisdictions, different investigators who would never think to connect them. But the FBI saw what local police couldn't: a pattern. The victims shared common characteristics. Most were women involved in prostitution. Many were runaways or trafficking victims. They were last seen at truck stops along major highways, and their bodies were found within a few miles of the interstate. The FBI launched what they called the Highway Serial Killings Initiative. What they discovered would become one of the largest serial murder investigations in American history. 850 murders. That's the FBI's estimate of how many killings are connected to long-haul truck drivers. More than 750 victims have been cataloged in their database, 450 suspects identified. And here's the number that should keep you awake at night. 200 of those cases remain unsolved. Meaning right now, as you listen to this, there are potentially dozens of active serial killers driving America's highways. The FBI has called long-haul trucking, quote, the ideal profession for a serial killer. And when you understand the logistics, the assessment is chilling. A trucker can cross 5, 6, even 7 states in a single day. They have no connection to the communities they pass through. No neighbors watching. No co-workers asking questions. They exist in a bubble of anonymity, moving through America like ghosts. One FBI analyst put it this way: an 18-wheeler is a mobile crime scene. These killers grab their victims in one jurisdiction, assault them in a second, and dump the body in a third. By the time anyone finds the victim, the killer is hundreds of miles away. And because the crime spans multiple states, no single police department has the full picture. Evidence gets lost between jurisdictions. Investigations stall. Cases go cold. They call them lot lizards. It's a cruel term for the women who work at truck stops, selling sex to drivers. Many are trafficking victims themselves, controlled by pimps who move them from stop to stop. Others are runaways, addicts, women with nowhere else to go. They are invisible people. When they disappear, no one files a missing persons report. When their bodies are found, they often carry no identification. Some killers take their IDs as souvenirs. Others know that a nameless victim is a victim who will never be avenged. What draws killers to trucking? Psychologists point to several factors. The lifestyle attracts loners, people who struggle with social interaction, who prefer isolation to human connection. The job offers power and control, freedom from oversight. Studies show that 10% of long-haul truckers drink alcohol daily, 20% binge drink regularly, 44% suffer from clinical depression. The isolation, the stress, the endless miles of empty road, they can break a person. And for someone already harboring violent urges, trucking provides the perfect opportunity to act on them. To understand how bad it can get, you need to know about Robert Ben Rhoades. They called him the truck stop killer. But that name doesn't begin to capture what he was. Rhoades drove an 18-wheeler across America for 15 years. And in the back of his truck, behind the driver's seat, he had built something unspeakable. Rhoades had converted his sleeper cab into a torture chamber. Police found chains bolted to the walls, shackles, handcuffs, a horse bridle that he used as a restraint around his victims' necks, whips, implements designed to inflict maximum pain. He would pick up hitchhikers or prostitutes, and once they were inside his truck, they became his prisoners. Some women he kept for weeks, torturing them, documenting their suffering with photographs. Then, when he was finished, he would kill them and dump their bodies along the highway. In February 1990, a 14-year-old girl named Regina K. Walters ran away from her home in Texas with her 18-year-old boyfriend, Ricky Lee Jones. They were hitchhiking when Robert Ben Rhoades picked them up. He killed Ricky almost immediately, but Regina he kept alive. Weeks later, Rhoades took Regina to an abandoned barn in Illinois. He had cut her hair short. He forced her to wear a black dress and heels that weren't hers. And then he took photographs. In the most infamous image, Regina stands in the barn doorway. Her eyes are wide with terror. Her hands are raised in a defensive posture. She knows what's coming. Moments after this photograph was taken, Robert Ben Rhoades strangled her to death. That photograph has been called the most terrifying image in true crime history. It shows the last seconds of a young girl's life, captured by her killer. On April 1st, 1990, an Arizona Highway Patrol trooper noticed the truck pulled over with its hazard lights on. When he approached to offer assistance, he heard screaming from inside the cab. He found a woman, naked and handcuffed, in Rhoades' torture chamber. She was alive. She had survived. Robert Ben Rhoades was arrested that night. He's suspected of killing more than 50 women over 15 years. He was convicted of 3 murders and sentenced to life without parole. He remains in an Illinois prison to this day. 17 years after Rhoades was captured, another trucker was hunting along America's highways. His name was Bruce Mendenhall, and in the summer of 2007, he went on a killing spree that would shock even veteran investigators. January 2007, a woman's body found behind a motel near a truck stop in Georgia. February, another body at a truck stop in Indiana, stripped naked and shot in the head, dumped in a snowbank. June, a woman discovered stuffed in a trash can at a truck stop in Tennessee. July, 2 more bodies. Alabama, Kentucky. Police across multiple states were investigating what appeared to be a serial killer targeting women at truck stops, but they had no idea how to find him. When police finally caught Mendenhall, they searched his truck and found a horror show: a rifle, multiple knives, handcuffs, black tape, latex gloves, sex toys, a nightstick. And when forensic technicians tested these items, they found DNA from 5 different women. Some matched known victims. Others have never been identified. Mendenhall was arrested at a truck stop in Nashville on July 12, 2007. A detective recognized his truck from surveillance footage taken the night one of his victims was murdered at that same location. He had returned to the scene of his crime, and it cost him everything. Bruce Mendenhall has been convicted of 3 murders and is currently serving 3 consecutive life sentences. But investigators believe he may have killed as many as 12 women across the country. He refuses to discuss any unsolved cases. The families of his other potential victims will likely never know the truth. Some killers stay silent. Others can't help but taunt the world. Keith Hunter Jesperson was the second kind. Standing 6 feet 8 inches tall, he had been nicknamed Igor as a child. He became a long-haul trucker, and between 1990 and 1995, he murdered at least 8 women. But what made Jesperson infamous wasn't just the killing. It was how he bragged about it. After each murder, Jesperson couldn't resist the urge to confess, but only on his terms. He wrote letters to newspapers and police departments, describing his crimes in detail. He scrawled confessions on truck stop bathroom walls, and he signed everything with a smiley face. The media dubbed him the Happy Face Killer. For Jesperson, it was all a game. He wanted attention. He wanted credit. He wanted the world to know how clever he was. But here's the most disturbing part of Jesperson's story. After his first murder, a woman named Laverne Pavlinak falsely confessed to the crime. She wanted to escape an abusive relationship and thought a prison sentence was her only way out. Laverne and her boyfriend, John Sosnowski, were convicted and sent to prison for a murder they didn't commit. They spent 5 years behind bars while the real killer, Keith Jesperson, continued hunting women across America. It was only when Jesperson's ego got the better of him, when he couldn't stand someone else taking credit for his work, that he came forward with evidence that proved his guilt and freed the innocent couple. Keith Jesperson claims to have killed 160 people. Only 8 murders have been confirmed. He is currently serving multiple life sentences at the Oregon State Penitentiary. He won't be eligible for parole until 2063. Some killers are caught through brilliant detective work, others through sheer luck. And then there's Wayne Adam Ford, who simply walked into a sheriff's office and confessed. On November 2nd, 1998, Ford entered the Humboldt County Sheriff's Department with his brother. He was carrying a plastic bag. Inside was a woman's severed breast. Ford told the officers that God had told him to confess. He admitted to killing 4 women, strangling them, and dismembering their bodies. He had been a long-haul trucker, traveling 14 western states, picking up vulnerable women along the way. What drove him to confess? Perhaps guilt. Perhaps the knowledge that he couldn't stop himself. Or perhaps, like Jesperson, a twisted need for recognition. Wayne Adam Ford was sentenced to death in 2006. He remains on death row at San Quentin. While Bruce Mendenhall was hunting women at truck stops in the South, another trucker was terrorizing the Northeast. Adam Leroy Lane didn't target prostitutes. He targeted women in their homes. In July 2007, Lane murdered 2 women and attempted to kill 2 others, all while driving his truck through Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Massachusetts. He would park his rig, walk to nearby houses, and attack women while they slept. In Lane's truck, police found his kill kit: 2 large hunting knives, choke wire, a leather mask with the eyes and mouth cut out, and a DVD of a horror movie called Hunting Humans, about a serial killer who stalks his victims before killing them with a knife. He wasn't just committing murders, he was living out a fantasy. Lane was captured when a teenage girl's father and neighbor subdued him during an attempted home invasion in Massachusetts. He's currently serving multiple life sentences and is under investigation for over 40 additional homicides across the country. For decades, a phantom haunted Ohio's highways. Investigators called him Dr. No after the CB radio handle he reportedly used. Between 1981 and 1990, at least 10 women were murdered along the Interstate 71 corridor. The victims were sex workers picked up at truck stops between Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati. Their bodies were found in remote areas just off the highway, and for 40 years, no one knew who was responsible. In 2019, a breakthrough. Investigators used familial DNA, testing samples against relatives of potential suspects. The match led them to a retired trucker named Samuel Legg, living in Arizona. Legg had worked as a long-haul driver for over 30 years, frequently traveling Interstate 71. He was charged with 3 murders, and investigators believe he may be the infamous Dr. Noans. But justice would be denied. Legg was ruled mentally incompetent to stand trial. He now resides in a psychiatric facility in Ohio. His victims' families may never see him face a jury. The killers don't stop, and neither do the investigators. In 2022, the Kansas City Police Department formed a new cold case unit. Within months, they had connected 2 unsolved murders from the 1990s to the same suspect, a former long-haul trucker named Gary Dion Davis. DNA evidence linked Davis to the 1996 murder of Pearl Barnes and the 1998 murder of Christina King. Both women were found dead in Kansas City. Both had been killed while Davis was working as a trucker. Police believe Davis is responsible for additional murders along his trucking routes. His trial is currently ongoing. The police chief said it plainly. In my experience, based on him killing 2 women, most likely he's killed more. How do you catch a killer who never stays in one place? The FBI's Highway Serial Killings Initiative uses every tool available. Truck company logs showing driver locations, gas station receipts pinpointing where a suspect stopped, GPS data tracking every mile, cell phone records, surveillance footage from truck stops across the country. Analysts build detailed timelines, mapping a suspect's movements day by day, mile by mile. Then they compare those timelines to when and where victims disappeared. The biggest weapon in the FBI's arsenal is DNA. The National CODIS database now contains millions of genetic profiles. And forensic genealogy, the same technology that caught the Golden State Killer, is helping solve cases that went cold decades ago. Killers who thought they had gotten away with murder are being identified years, even decades later. The past is catching up with them. The trucking industry has changed too. Major companies now use GPS tracking on every vehicle. Electronic logging devices monitor driver activity. Some trucks have cameras in the cab. For a corporate trucker today, it's much harder to go untracked. Much harder to disappear for hours without explanation. Much harder to hide. But not impossible. Independent owner-operators face far less scrutiny. Some trucking companies openly advertise themselves as second-chance employers, hiring drivers with felony records and minimal background checks. And the victims, the women working at truck stops and rest areas, remain just as vulnerable as they were 20 years ago. The FBI estimates there are still active serial killers on America's highways. We just don't know who they are yet. There is hope. An organization called Truckers Against Trafficking has trained over 2 million drivers to recognize signs of human trafficking and report suspicious activity. Their tips have led to the recovery of hundreds of victims. Most truckers are good people, essential workers who keep America running, and many of them are actively fighting against the predators who hide among them. But for every case that's solved, dozens remain open. The I-70 strangler, responsible for at least 12 deaths between 1980 and 1991, has never been identified. The I-70 serial killer who murdered 6 store clerks in 1992 is still unknown. A $25,000 reward remains unclaimed. Somewhere in America, there are killers who got away with murder. Some are still driving. Others have retired, living quiet lives, their secrets buried along with their victims. 850 murders. That's the number the FBI gives us. But it's almost certainly an undercount. How many bodies were never found? How many victims were never reported missing? How many killers were never caught? The American highway system stretches for over 4 million miles. It connects every city, every town, every forgotten corner of the country. And somewhere out there, tonight, a truck is moving through the darkness. The next time you're driving late at night and an 18-wheeler passes you on the highway, you probably won't think twice about it. It's just another truck, just another driver. But the FBI knows the truth. Among those 40,000 trucks moving through the night, there are predators, men who have killed before, men who will kill again. The road never sleeps, and neither do they. If you have information about any unsolved highway murders, contact the FBI's VICAP tip line or your local law enforcement. The Highway Serial Killings Initiative is ongoing, and somewhere out there, justice is still waiting.